Hey, what's up, you guys? It's me, Sam, again, and today I'm doing a very, very late review for X-Men Apocalypse, which it was a film I was really, really excited for because after X-Men Days of Future Past and First Class, I was so excited. Like, they were great films, and I was very excited despite some of the trailers. And I know it's late doing this review, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it now, just get my honest thoughts out because probably everybody's like, how is it, Sam? How is it? Is it good? I'm gonna be honest with you. This is not that good. But anyways, in order to talk about get into that, let's talk about the story. All right, now the story for X Men Apocalypse takes place after the events of X Men Days of Future Past. The world's pretty much been saved. The future is fixed, and now things are changing. Mutants are kind of seen as a different thing after the whole Magneto thing, where he gave that speech at the end of Days of Future Past, where he says mutants are welcome. We're done dealing with you. Whatever. I haven't seen the movie in a while, but it's Magneto or Eric is pretty much in the hiding, aka Magneto. He's pretty much started a family, and he's just and living with his family, living out, hiding out in I believe Germany. That's where the film takes place. And while that's going on, the X Men are sort of like Charles is pretty much kind of happy to live again. He's more wiser, but there's a But I'll explain why that comes that kind of like is a little bit of hypocrisy because I'll explain it later. And the film kind of hypocrites that, but yeah. So after that, the X Men are forced to go up against this mutant who's been awoken for who's considered the very first mutant, Apocalypse, played by Poe Dameron. So he was woken up, and Storm, a young Storm, who's a mutant from the comics, who controls the weather and stuff and creates like electric storms. It's you know who she is. She was played by Halle Berry in the last movie, or I think she was she? I don't know, but she pretty much brings her home, and then he sees like what's going on. He sort of like sees what happened to the world ever since he's been asleep. He sees all the wars that happened. He's like, my God, what happened? What the hell happened? It's just like he's been asleep for so long, he can't really remember much. So he has unexperienced the world. So he decides, you know what? I'm going to make this world better, and I'm going to wipe out humanity and sort of make everybody a mutant, where it's just mutants. Wouldn't that be a great thing? So after that, he sort of starts going around the world gathering up different mutants. He finds Angel, Psylocke, and I believe Magneto. So he finds all of them and sort of makes them the four horsemen of the apocalypse. So now it's up to the X-Men, who are pretty much who have to stop Apocalypse and stop the four horsemen from destroying the world and from Apocalypse taking over. To be honest, the story here is pretty damn like okay. Like it wasn't anything special. It wasn't like X-Men Days of Future Past or First Class where they gave us like a whole expanded like thing about what's going on. To be honest, the film feels very, very focused on the Four Horsemen and the X-Men really starting to become X-Men, because this movie is going to give us, like, from what I've seen, I guess going to be the last Bryan Singer movie. And I think that's probably the best thing because this film feels incredibly tired, and so does the story. Apocalypse is a pretty damn cliched villain. That's the problem I have. He's just like those villains you see in cartoons that are like, I'm going to make this world so much better. Everybody's going to be like mutants. We're going to be hero superpowers. It's so cliched. Like this, I've seen this villain already twice this year with Superman, with Dawn of Justice, and I just didn't expect it to be like. I wanted a villain with a deeper villain that didn't just be like, I'm gonna take over the world. Why? Because I hate humanity. Because they do kind of explain in the beginning where it's like he puts his hand on TV and sort of sees like the whole world of what happened, and so after that, the X Men have to stop him, and pretty much that's it. And it's just like it was a very damn kind of bland story. And to be honest, I was just not that interested. It's an okay story, but out of all the X Men, this has probably got to be the weakest. Just out of all the stories of the X Men movies, I know Last Stand and Origins Wolverine really weren't that good, but they had potential. So anyways, let's talk about the acting. And the acting for X Men is still great. Michael Fassbender does a great job as Magneto. James McAvoy does a really good job as Xavier. He's very good, and this movie does explain what happens to his hair, because that's been a question leading up to everybody's thing. Evan Peters returns as Quicksilver from the first movie. He does a really good job in that. But the funny thing about it is he hasn't changed much, and it's been like 10 years. It's like the 80s now, so it's like nothing's at all changed. So you're just like, what? Why is the world like this? How come nothing has changed? Because it's like in the movie, he's still living with his mom. He still has that arcade machine, like the Pong machine you see in Days of Future Past. It's like in the 80s now, but it's weird. It's hard to describe everything, because this movie doesn't really feel like it's in the 80s. It feels more like it's still like late 70s. It's confusing. It's like this movie can't decide. But what I will say is the acting is pretty good for the most part, and for the most part, Apocalypse is was played pretty well by Oscar Isaac, who I'm a really big fan of him now, because I just saw Ex Machina, and I also saw us in Force Awakens. That was the one thing I remember him as. He was Poe Dameron in Force Awakens. He was awesome in that. Here he does an okay job. But now let's talk about the action and special effects. And the action for X-Men Apocalypse is still really good. There's a lot of really cool moments, even though the special effects at times look kind of bad. Like they look really cheesy at times. It's just there's at times where I was like, okay, I know this looks very, very fake to me. And I would say the special effects, the high point of the movie, where it's the scene with Quicksilver, where it's in the trailer, where it's like you see the mansion blow up, like the house of where the house for the X-Men just explodes, like the Academy. So that's in the trailer. If you haven't seen the trailer, that's a spoiler, I guess. But it's been like 2 months of the movie, and if you wanted to see it, you could have seen it at this point. But the action is pretty cool. Some of the special effects look kind of bad at times. They're not like Fantastic Four bad, but they're still kind of cheesy. But let's get on with my problems with the movie, and I do have quite a bit. First of all, let's get to the Apocalypse. This movie is called X-Men Apocalypse, and he's not in the movie that much. He's not really in the movie at all. He's in the movie for about 40%. He's in about 5 or 6 scenes. And for the first 20 to 30 minutes of the movie, I can understand that, because this is before he's been awoken from his sleep. So you're just like, okay, that's good. And then for like I would say good chunk of the movie, you barely see him. And when you do see him, he's not doing anything besides monologuing I'm not going to say what he does, but he's monologuing through Charles Xavier, because he can control people. But he barely does anything. The only things he really does that are notable are the scenes with the Four Horsemen. He gives everyone their power, like more power, and gives them kind of a new costume and a new haircut. And the haircuts look really stupid. The costumes are pretty cool, but I don't know what happened to the hair. Like, Angel's haircut is so strange. It looks like a fashion model, honestly. The haircut they gave him, it looks really, really stupid. And Storm has sort of the same type of haircut, but it looks a little better on her, but not by much. And the thing is, this movie feels so tired. Like, the villain is so tired to me. I was getting kind of tired of it, this movie, towards the end of the movie. I'm like, okay, it's time to wrap it up. Just end already. All right. And then when it does end, it ends like the biggest slap in the face to me was the trailers. The trailers ruined this entire movie. The final trailer where you see Wolverine's like claws, I'm like, oh, you could have saved that. That would have been awesome. And for the most part, it's that Wolverine scene, like Hugh Jackman is in the movie for like a good 5 to 6 minutes. Like, I would say there's a 6-minute scene where he's just running around killing guards. It's a pretty cool scene. There is a little bit of blood, but it doesn't go like too far where he's like ripping someone's head off, like in the Uncaged Edition video game, like X-Men Origins Uncaged Edition. Have you ever heard of it? So the whole movie is like feels so tired. Hell, even like Hugh Jackman, just like the look on his face was like, and he just runs out and they make a joke like, I guess we're not gonna see him anytime soon. That was pretty funny. I was laughing at that, and the villain feels really tired. Like Poe Dameron I mean Oscar Isaac. I don't know. I keep calling him Poe Dameron. Oscar Isaac did a good job as Apocalypse, but he wasn't very memorable. He's not very interesting either. He was supposed to be like the most threatening villain. Like they made him out to be the biggest threat in the trailers. He doesn't do much in the movie. All he does is give the Four Horsemen powers and sort of build this giant like coliseum, I guess, sort of pyramid. It's like it was just like this movie was very disappointing to me. I was more disappointed with this movie than I was with Batman v Superman. Batman v Superman was kind of a disappointment, but at least I'll admit there was some good stuff. Here, I just felt tired. Like I'm getting really burnt out on X-Men. In fact, hell, I think even the cast is because when Hugh Jackman was in this, he looked so tired. Like I was just like, man, you just ran. So, and that's I guess why he's only doing one more Wolverine movie and he's not going to be in another X-Men movie. And there is an end credits scene in this movie, but I'm not going to say much about it because there really isn't. I didn't stay after the credits. I just walked out after the movie was over. When the credits started playing, I was like, I'm just done. I'm going. Me and my friend just grabbed our popcorn and we just left. And to be honest, I was really disappointed with X-Men Apocalypse. I wanted this to be so good. And this is probably going to be on Make My List of Disappointing Films of the Year next. Top 10 worst and most disappointing films of the year. I'm probably going to combine it before the end of the year of all the films I saw that were pretty damn disappointing and pretty damn bad. So, thank you guys so much for watching this video. And I don't know why I'm ending it so soon. I have the final verdict. The final verdict for this movie is a 5 out of 10. It's a 5 out of 10 because I was so excited and it just fell on its face. And there's a whole joke where they say the third X-Men movie is usually the worst. Like they're making fun of The Last Stand, but I feel like they're making more of a joke about this one because it just was kind of weak. This is probably the weakest X-Men movie in my opinion. Sorry if this review was kind of like off at times, but I'm just flat out getting sick of X-Men. And I'm hoping the last Wolverine movie is good because the Wolverine movies haven't been that great. Well, the Wolverine movie, the one in Japan, was pretty good for what I saw. It was a good popcorn movie. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. And goodbye.